Hello everyone, my name is Ryan, and in this lesson I'm going to show you how to launch the Git command line, otherwise known as Git Bash. So in a Windows environment, we would just go to our Start menu, All Apps, look under G for Git, and then previously we learned how to launch the graphical user interface. Now we're going to go to Git Bash. So you can see it's opened up a little command line interface. The difference here is that this command line interface is more a Linux command line interface. So Bash is the shell that we use on a Linux environment. So we are simulating a Linux environment here. So we're going to use a whole bunch of Linux commands now. So if I type ls and I press enter, that will give me a list of all the files and directories in the current folder. Anything in white are files, and anything in dark blue are actual folders or directories. And then your things in light blue are just shortcuts basically. So you'll see I have a desktop folder, documents, music, and so on. And then pwd is another important command in Linux. It just means print working directory, and it will give you the current directory that we're situated in. Also on the right hand side of your prompt in yellow, you can see which folder we're currently situated in. This little symbol here is called a tilde, and it just represents your current your home folder or your user directory where all your documents and settings are. So if I type pwd, it means print working directory, and that actually tells me the current directory that I'm situated in, which in this case is my C drive users IE user folder. What is a little strange in a Linux environment, if you're used to a Windows environment, is that all the folders use forward slashes instead of backslashes. So in Windows it would be represented as C drive users IE user. On Linux everything is simply just forward slashes. So if I wanted to go into my desktop, I would have to use the cd command, which means change directory, and then capital D for desktop, because Linux is case sensitive. And then you can just type the first 2 or 3 letters and press the tab key, and that will auto-complete the folder. And press enter. And now I'm actually situated in my home folder. That's a tilde over there, which is C drive users. And in my case, my username is IE user. Yours will be different. And then desktop is on my desktop. If I type ls to get a list of files and directories, I can see that I do have a folder called Python project, and I can actually see that here on my desktop as well. And if I go in on my desktop, I can see a whole lot of Python files. At this stage, this is not a Git repository, so I need to still create a Git repository from it. But just so you can see, if I want to go in there, I'll just type cd space py and then press tab to autocomplete and press enter, and then ls to list the files in this directory. And you can see those same Python files here on the command line. And then I can then start issuing git commands by typing git and whatever subcommand that I want to type. To get a list of all the possible subcommands, we can just type git and press enter, and that will give us a basic help file listing the different commands that we can use. So your basic syntax will be to type git space. Any one of these options are optional. You can see the square brackets just means optional. And then the command is compulsory. I need to specify a command. The command would be one of these that are listed here, for example, clone or init. And then the arguments are also optional. Some of the commands do require arguments, which is just further information that we provide to the command. So to give you an example of a command, we can type git status, which will be one of our most important commands to list the status of the current repository. Now this is not actually a repository as yet, so we should get an error message. Tells us fatal, not a Git repository. So we would need to still initialize this as a repository, and that we'll be doing in a future lesson. But just so you can see another way in which we can launch the Git bash, we can just close this for now. A much easier way is just to go directly into your project folder from the graphical interface, right click within that folder, and you'll see you can have an option here which is Git Bash here. And if we choose that option, it will launch Git Bash like it did before, but it will already put us into the correct subfolder. So now if I type ls, I'm immediately in the correct subfolder. So this would be the way I would recommend launching Git Bash in a Windows environment, is to simply right click within the folder and then choose Git Bash here. If you're in a Linux environment, then you'll just launch standard terminal and you will change directory into your project folder, and then you will issue the git commands as per usual. So that brings us to the end of this lesson on how to launch Git Bash.